Hi everyone, so we are going to create surrealism style double exposure photographs. First you need to open up your portrait. Once you open it up, you'll notice that the background is locked. To unlock, double click on this layer and rename it as portrait. Next, you're going to get rid of this background. So try to find a photograph where the background is not too busy, either white or gray. So to select the background, you can use a quick selection tool. And this works for me because my background is quite simple. So once you have that, delete it, just press delete button. And then next you're going to select just the portrait, not the background. So right now we have the background selected. So right click and choose select inverse. So you notice that only the man in the center has the marching ants. Next, go to refine edge, change the radius to 1.5, and change the output to new layer with layer mask. So you'll notice that another layer is created for you with the layer mask. And then you're going to make sure to click on the photograph and make any adjustments to the photos right now. Or you could have done this before, but I'm just going to do this right now. If you want to change any brightness or contrast, you can do that. Instead of this, I will change my levels so that it has a little more contrast. And also play around with exposure maybe. Okay, so you want to exaggerate a little bit more than necessary. Next, drag your photograph in. So make sure your photograph matches your portrait, and I will show you how you can change this either at the beginning or in the middle of your editing. So to select your background or your landscape, click Command A to select all, Command C to copy, and go back to your previous tab, and Command V to paste. Okay, so at this point you are going to try to get the selection of the portrait, and in order to do that you're going to stay on this layer 1, or I'm just going to rename it as forest. Rename it as forest and stay on this layer. Hold down Control button or your Control key, and as you hold it down, you notice how my cursor changes. You're going to click on the layer mask, not here but here. So click it once, and then you should get a little pop-up and select Add Mask to Selection. So once you do that, you will get the selection of the portrait. And then you're going to go back to your forest layout, or sorry, layer, and select Vector Mask. So once you do this, you will see that everything else is eliminated except for the silhouette of the person or the portrait. Next, you're going to choose the inside. You don't necessarily want this. You might want to get a different composition of the landscape. Click on the Move tool, which is right here. Then you need to unlock the mask, vector mask, and the landscape. If you don't do this, then you'll notice that it doesn't move, like the landscape does not move within. So I'm going to unlock this, select the landscape photo, and you'll notice that I can easily move it back and forth. In the tutorial provided online, you will notice that this landscape photo is upside down. In order to change, click on Command T. So Command T, it lets you transform your image. You can turn it, and in order to rotate, just use the corner of the image. For me, I'm going to rotate it, and I'm going to rotate 180 degrees. Okay, once you're happy, press enter and just move it around. Move your photos around until you're happy with what you have. I'm going to actually also enlarge my photo. So Command T and stretch. I'm going to stretch my photos a little bit more. Maybe something like this. Alright. Okay, next you're going to change the order of the portrait and the forest. So the portrait goes back on top, and then you're going to change the blending mode right here. So right now by default it is set as normal. Change it to screen. So you'll see that instantaneously the images have overlapped and that it looks transparent. Next, you're going to change the saturation of the photograph so that it matches the landscape a little bit more. But it's up to you. You don't have to necessarily do this, but I'm going to show you how. So while you're clicking on the portrait, not the vector mask, it has to be on the portrait. Go to Image, Adjustments, and then Desaturate. So you'll notice that it's black and white. And I want to add just a bit of tint of color. So go to Image, Adjustments, Hue, Saturation. Make sure you select Colorize or else this will not work. Because the landscape is a little bluish, I will also choose something a little bit blue. You can go a little blue purple if you want. And I'm going to lower my saturation just a bit. About 9 or 10. Next, I'm going to enhance the contrast even further. Just like that. Okay, so I'm just only moving the black slider. You can play around with different options to see what looks best for you. Okay, so this is what I have so far. I'm going to fill in my background. Right now you'll notice it's transparent. So click on new layer, create a new layer right here. Rename it as background color. You can choose, either gray or white, whatever that you think will look best. And then make sure it is placed on the bottom, not on top, right? Because if you place this on top, you're gonna cover up your images. So that's fine. You can just leave it there. Next, so let's go back to our portrait. You will need to add some masking here. So go to your portrait copy. So you have to make sure you're clicking on the masking layer, okay, not the photographs. Okay, it has to be on the masking layer. Remember, you're using black to reveal, right, and white to hide. So if you want to do this, right, if you want to lower the landscape, the trees a bit, you can just go over it repeatedly. But if you don't really like it, you don't have to. But if you want to also move your landscape, you can. I think I actually like the original better, so I'm just going to leave it like that. Okay, I'm going to make this part of the head transparent in order that you're going to hide. So you notice that everything in black is hidden here, so the part of the landscape is not showing. So you need to use this layer because I'm going to hide this part of the sky. Or was it water before? So use black, and it's gonna hide this. You can change the opacity so that it's stronger or weaker depending on your work. Okay, my work is a little pixelated because I did not get the best quality. Okay, and then I'm gonna go to my portrait copy layer and try to get rid of all these additional outlines. So if you're not sure which layer to go to, just toggle back and forth until you find it. Sometimes it will take a while for you to figure that out. Okay, so if you want to darken anything, what else you can do is create a new layer and just paint over it using black. Okay, that was way too much black, so you may want to let's try that. There you go. So if you move this layer underneath the portrait, you'll notice it doesn't impact the eyes as much, but then if I have it on top, obviously that's way too much. So if you want to enhance part of the photograph, you can do that. So right now, if I go over here, it's fine. But then if I go outside of it, you notice that little circular shape occurs. So to avoid that, just make sure you have your, oops, wrong layer. You know, you have your portrait selected. Make sure it's just the portrait, not the background. So I'm going to select inverse so that only the portrait is selected. So going back to my layer 1, I am going to just darken some areas that I want to enhance. Okay, not too much. You can change the opacity so that it's not so strong. You don't want to do this, like, you know, you don't want to create the little, you know, you don't want to create the blur or the blur. I don't know if this looks better, so I'm not going to stick with that. Okay, so deselect Command D. I think I'm pretty happy with this. That's it. So make sure you save your work as PSD first. Okay, so I'll just call this Surrealism 01 and PSD. And then once you're happy with this, after you crop everything, you know, make sure it's completely exactly the way you want it. Crop it. Okay, you're going to save it as a JPEG. Okay, and then medium quality is fine. Alright, perfect.